Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of film, dance, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm delighted to have on our show today performer, producer, filmmaker, entrepreneur, Mr. Willie J. Starrah. Willie J., welcome to Creative Focus, man. Let's chop it up.
Hey, Mr. Calhoun, AKA as I call him, Dad. So I'm excited to be here on your show. Thank you.
My pleasure. So you came out of Glenville High School,
Yes.
the mighty Tar Brothers, Principal Jacqueline Bell, extraordinary woman, extraordinary educator, administrator. I actually just talked to Miss Bell, recently. And, the thing about that class, that drama class, was so much talent, man. You got Lucky Nicole doing plays in Texas. You got Titus Covington making his mark in films out west. Lauren Nicole Sturdivant, director at the South Euclid Lyndhurst School District. In fact, Lauren just was a musical director in the play Gypsy. So much talent. And then you got AJ Young down in Tampa relaxing. I've been trying to get her to come back and do some films. She said, as long as it's snowing in Cleveland, she's staying in Florida. So tell me where the interest came for you to become a performer.
I think I've always had the natural ability because I'm animated, but for me, I just have always enjoyed theater. I've enjoyed seeing people perform. And so somewhere the bug just hit me. And I was like, I want to try this. And that was it.
So do you remember your first play?
Funny enough, the first play was in 5th grade. And I didn't recognize that until years later. But I had to do this. It was a Black History play, and I had to read this letter or whatever. And it was awesome because the focus was all on me. And I just remembered in the end, my parents were there and they were cheering me on. And I was like, oh, this is pretty nice. I like this.
Do you remember your first play at Glenville?
The first play for me at Glenville was with you, Old Settler. And what was funny about that was I did not think I really wanted to do it. We ended up talking, and then you were like, I got this role for you. And that's how it started. And then next thing I know, we're on stage, we're running lines. What was so impressive about working with you was the fact that you gave us a work ethic that taught us never depend on mics, because they can go out at any time, and the back of the audience needs to be able to hear you. So you can't just speak down to the front audience. And I thank you for that, because that gem there has actually stayed with me throughout my career. And that's something that I go and look for when I go to theaters or other plays. But when we did that play in particular, we were memorizing like 40-page, 60-page scripts. And mind you, we're going to school. I'm 15 years old, memorizing 40-page scripts. I knew everybody's lines, and that was an amazing experience for me.
You remember your character's name?
Husband. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. You're on top of your game. So who is Willie J. Starrah?
Willie J. Starrah is an icon. That's first and foremost. And for me, Willie J. Starrah represents going after goals, setting them, and making sure that you have those in your circle who deserve to be there to be with you so that you all can shine, because it isn't just about one person. And so if I have a chance to bring other people with me and I get opportunities, that's what I want to do. But I only want the best to be around me. So it's a privilege to be in this same setting when I am able to have different opportunities. But as I've gotten older and more projects have increased, I've been more particular about who I allowed to be in that Willie J. Starrah atmosphere, because not everybody deserves to be there, but also I need to know when it's time to step in and when it's time to step back.
Okay, so I asked you this question once before. So what does all things Willie J mean? Because I love that.
Food, opinions, all things Willie J means food, opinions, empowerment. And going to see the world and taking risk. I noticed that with a lot of my friends, they weren't going out of the city at times, and they would see me take pictures of food, whether I was in Chicago or New York. I know with us being in this pandemic, I got a chance to go to San Diego, and that was one of the best times of my life to go visit my best friend Monique. And so being able to see all these parts and live, that's what I want people to see when they see All Things Willie J. That guy is living, and if he's doing it, I can do it too.
What do you enjoy most about performing, being on stage or being on film?
On stage, I enjoy the crowd. I enjoy looking out at the audience, seeing people's reactions, but then also knowing like the next line and what's going on stage. Like if I happen to see someone trip or something like that in my head, I can just go, oh, let me make sure you're okay. Or, I'm looking at the audience, but making sure the next line comes and what that looks like. For film, what I enjoy most has been lights, the lighting for me on certain things, but also being behind the scenes of it. That's what I've been enjoying about film lately, is being the person creating it versus always being in front of the camera.
So, what do you enjoy most about performing, period?
The fact I get the opportunity to do it. Honestly, whether it's a fashion show or it's a production, whether it's for 5 people or 20 people, I enjoy being able to inspire others, but also let my creativity speak and influence for itself.
Now, who are some of the actors or performers that you admire, that you enjoy seeing?
Someone that I admire, and the actors and performers I admire, one for sure is Keisha Nicole Foster. I think she's an amazing poet, but an activist, so many things that she does, and a performer, so animated. Another person I admire is Robert Townsend. I love his creativity and what he's done with different genres when he brought us Meteor Man. And, beyond just his other works, that's something that really sticks out to me as I think about it. Who else do I like right now, performer-wise? I've really been enjoying lately just a lot of folks. I'm getting inspiration from a lot of different people. I'm enjoying hearing backstories, like for A Different World, you had the 2 main characters talk about what they were going through back when the show was being produced, and how certain things weren't looking at what we saw on camera, but behind the scenes there was a lot of fight for their pay and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been enjoying seeing what they did to bring that craft, and what work we don't know went on behind the scenes, but what they gave us was a classic. So I've been enjoying seeing that. That's been inspiring me lately.
So if you had a dream character, who would he be? Who would you want to play?
Right now, I'm playing it.
You're playing it?
I'm playing it right now. The
right.
guy that's doing film, directing, and taking every day as it comes, I think I want to play this role now. And I thought about that. I was like, what role, what character would I want to be or play? I've seen it. And for those who've done it, that's what they were supposed to be. So I don't have anything right now that's like, I want to play this role right now. But the door is still open.
Do you think growing up in the Glenville neighborhood influenced your creativity? And if so, how?
Absolutely. You and I have known each other, Dad, as I've been able and blessed to call you. We've known each other over 20-something years. And you watched me as a kid grow throughout all my years, whether it was college and then beyond. And then I started stepping into film. And, I have inspiration like yourself. Being in my neighborhood and knowing that there's so much culture there, but also having that pride and knowing I come from Glenville, shout out to class 2004. 04. Coming from this place of pride and respect and dignity, and that you're not just some inner city kid, that gives me pride to know that when I step out in other platforms, I don't have to just say, I'm from this area, that's what made me where I am. You're gonna see it. It's already embodied in me when I'm there. So, whether it was my teachers, whether it's just being able to say I come from a neighborhood that is still transforming to this day, that brings me pride. So yeah, Glenville definitely forever plays a role in my life.
So let's take a look at Willie J. Starrah in the award-winning film Paradise. And this film was actually produced by TV20, award-winning film Paradise. Let's take a look.
Oh, it's so white. I don't see the sun nowhere. Where's the sun?
Ask Siri.
So you seen it all, Junior boy, huh?
Clear as a feature film?
And they ain't come after you?
No. I hid my cell phone, played dumb and blind. There's a new sheriff in town. The fuzz started swooping in everywhere, whacking them heads. Man, they grabbed Ladarius Blue, smashed his head in the cement, dumped him in the back of the patrol car. Boy was out cold. Then they started chasing folks through the complex, snatching cell phones. Some of the fuzz must have played for Ted Ginn Sr. at Glenville because they was running fools down from behind.
Listen, it's a new wave of fuzz. They got a new leader at the top, King Ramis. Y'all better recognize.
That's what I'm talking about.
Boy, you all right? You don't want to fly high with some of the top cats?
Look, I told you about my business in your mouth.
Oh, Junior boy, all right? Junior boy family. Ain't y'all just fly and get along? Man, sky too high for all of y'all.
Nah, I'm still floating from an earlier trip. Besides, I ain't into mixing no white, brown, boy, girl, on site, and off the grid stuff. I'm just shy that way.
What the C-O-P don't know won't hurt.
Don't say that too loud.
Now, I'm telling these wenches we got talking walls.
Rats talk too.
Yeah, and I'm looking closely at the two-legged kind.
Aw, man, Top Cat, I was just playing. Dang.
Be quiet, child. Enjoy. Hey, y'all hear about Keisha? She bought that farm. Got a hold of some bad stuff. Off the grid. Saw the polecats taking her out.
Man, you got to know who you dealing with.
Man, they'll find her at the dumpster in a week or two.
For a month or two.
That's real life.
Another day of paradise.
What do you remember about that film, Willie?
That film, what was interesting about Paradise, I can't even remember when you called me. I think you know what you said was, I got a role I'm creating for you. And I was like, okay. And so I didn't see the script yet. We started doing the reads. I remember doing the cold reads over at the Blue Loft and being able to be here at TV20, which is very nostalgic. That's what I felt when I walked in this space, like, this is home. I know this place. And I remember us filming certain scenes in the stairwell.
Yeah,
But I also remember what I love, shout out to the cast, we were awesome together. Like, it was so much, I felt that's something I love too. The feeding off each other, the energy amongst other peers and fellow actors and actresses that want you to win. And it's just that, yo, you doing a great job. I gotta up this because you brought this energy. And just feeling that when the scenes needed to be held strong. So yes, that's what I remember most. And it was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So let's talk about your radio show that I loved, All Things Willie J. How did that come about? And who were some of the guests that you had on? And who were some of the topics as well?
So All Things Willie J show came because there was a previous person that was hosting a show, and that slot ended up going away. And so then they were like, well, would you want to do it? And so Voice and Radio came to me with the opportunity, and I said, yeah, because I was engineering. So the spinoff was I engineered other people's shows, a couple people's shows, and then I got my show space. So I did, but in the midst of that, I actually ended up engineering my own show. And producing at the same time, so shout out to Tom Joyner. I thought about that because I remember one of the people saying to me, you're not gonna be able to produce your show and get your guest on and do this all at once. And I did. And so shout out to, again, when you have a dream and a vision, when it's yours, you're gonna make it happen. You'll figure it out. But some of the guests I had on there were a friend of mine, Kim. I had Lucky Nicole.
Right, Lucky Nicole.
I had Iris. I had
And what were some of the
few people.
topics you talked about too?
The
on show?
topics, we talked about sexual health, which I'm very big about. We talked about financial stability. We talked about emotional wellness. We talked about different topics before it became even big as far as mainstream. We were ahead of the curve.
Now you own your own production company.
Yes.
And the title is?
Humbly Fulfilled Productions.
Okay, now tell me more about that.
So Humbly Fulfilled Productions, the name it stuck with me for a couple years. I need to marinate on it because I didn't know if I liked it or not. But it registered with me because I think tapping in what you said about Glenville, I come from a humble space. But I also know that as I am going through things and projects, whether it's a film project, whether it's doing something on stage, if it's not giving me fulfillment, I don't want to do it. And also the projects I agree to, whether I'm producing or directing them, if it doesn't give me fulfillment, I don't want to do them. So for me, it always comes back to the root of humbly fulfilled. Do I feel that in any production I'm doing or whatever I'm putting out into the atmosphere? And it's not just for me about money, because you can have all the money and you not be fulfilled as a creative. And for me as a creative, I need that fulfillment in anything I'm doing.
So tell me some of the projects that your production company has produced.
So recently I got a chance to shout out to One Steam Consulting, Evelyn D. Smith. She is a great friend of mine, one of my close best friends. She produced the Kismet Fashion Show in September, and I was fortunate to be the fashion show director and produce the behind the scenes and the content for the show. And so it was great being able to send the different designer looks out. We had 6 designers. That was an amazing show. And so it was great to get back into that part of the world because I hadn't done it in a while.
Was that a fashion show?
It was a fashion show, yes.
And with young adults or who?
It was a mixture. So I had, we actually had, shout out to D&D Models. There was a few teenagers that were there that were mixed into the show. But then also we had just professional seasoned veterans in the city. Our city has a lot of amazing models that aren't just for print, but they can really kill the runway and slay it like nobody you've ever seen. And so I love being able to work with that kind of energy too. The designers were awesome. You had people that did ready-to-wear fashion. You had someone that did recyclable fashions and repurposed. So it was a whole variety. A couple productions I did was a film project that Should Have Loved Me When I Was Broken. That'll be coming very soon, but I got to do that a little minute ago. I just screened it. And more recently, right now, and this has become a part of it with being on tour. So I'm doing a filmmakers tour to really encompass what I've been working on and doing so that people can see more of what it took for me to get here, not just I've arrived.
So you completed your second film
Yes.
recently. That was a Glenville documentary. Let's talk about that.
So the Glenville documentary, that was a labor of love. It took technically 7 years to get together because I had 5 years of it just being a thought. And then I connected with a dear friend of mine and business partner on that venture, my fellow videographer, Miss Regina Johnson. And I'm very fortunate for her because she saw the vision when nobody else could see it at the time. And I just kept pushing forward with it because I wanted it to be about telling our story. I wanted it to be about telling our story before we got too old and people couldn't remember things, or you were missing out on capturing important moments that were happening in real time.
So tell me more about the documentary. It was primarily for the 2004 class?
Yes. So what it was, I wanted it to be a different keepsake for my class and something for us to have pride in, for us to see it. And so I said, well, who better than, myself and my classmates, one of our own, to tell our own story. So I called people up that I could, and I just let them know, hey, I'm going to be filming from this time to this time. Y'all show up. I started getting questions together. They already knew. And so it just came about with me wanting to tell the history of my class because we were losing a lot of my classmates. At that time, I had lost 8 classmates, whether to natural or other things that were happening in their lives. And so I didn't want to wait till I kept losing more classmates to actually tell our history. And so I wanted to do a documentary to talk about it.
So was Fred Johnson included in that documentary at
Yes,
all?
I'm glad you said that. So Fred and those that I said too have passed on. Fred was a very good friend of mine. And
A tremendous actor and student.
oh my gosh, I can't bust the move on right now because we're mic'd up, but
Right, yeah.
he had that
yeah,
little
don't do
dance
that.
move.
I had to call in my TV20 crew, you know.
Shout out to them, yes. But he had this little dance move thing he did.
Yeah.
But it was important for me to make sure that they weren't missed either, because I felt that, you know, again, when your classmates have passed or people you know that have gone, it's easy to forget about them and you don't say anything. So I got his, spoiler alert, I have his sister and his brother in there that are speaking on his behalf. But what I did was I have a memorial section in there too that symbolizes and talks about the importance of my fellow classmates who are no longer with us.
Yeah, and we have a clip of that documentary, but before we go to that, I just want to say something that we did a show in the auditorium, and you know, a lot of the students were rowdy during that time, but honestly, because Fred was in that play and Fred was so beloved that the audience gave us the props, and they were fine in that show.
Yeah.
And even I remember Miss Bell saying she couldn't believe it, that there was no trouble out the whole play.
Yep.
And I still believe it was because of Fred, because everybody loved Fred. He played football, everybody loved Fred, and they didn't want to disrespect him. You know, it wasn't me or anybody else, you know. But let's take a clip, let's take a look at Willie Johnson's documentary about the Glenville class of 2004.
When someone looks at this documentary, I want them to get pride back into themselves. I want them to feel inspired that if they didn't finish the goal they started, to get back on that path, accomplish those goals, because it's never too late. And I want them to be able to walk away knowing, man, this was really a great time in our lives and a great legacy moment for the class of 2004.
I think of it more in terms of my artistic self. My artwork, it's a lot about ascension. It's a lot about growth. And it's a lot about being bold. The colors that I use, the way that I form my voice on the canvas represents all of who I am and where I want to go. Not even so much where I've been through, but where I want to go. It takes me places, and it allows me to show people what it's like to move forward. It's all about moving forward.
That tar blood or that robot, that's who we are, Sweat Blood. Something about growing up at this school that it really means a lot to us. So when we see each other, or even you see at the local games now, the high school games now, you hear that Ville chant. You can see everybody from all ages and different classes cheer that. So I'm definitely a tar blooder in and out.
The what would be like neo soul music. Metaphysics, and the who would be our former like freedom fighters. I feel connected to them, like Angela Davis and Fanaya Davis type of people.
I would have to say my daughter. It's amazing how kids are resilient. I think they are non-judgmental. I think they love you no matter how many mistakes you make, how many times you think that you're not doing a good job, but you actually are. And I think it's good that no matter what you do, you always seem like you're the best. And I think that she represents me in a good way because she's me before judgment set in. You can't get no better than that.
Me, by my personality. When people meet me, I'm very outspoken, I'm very charismatic, and that's important for people to see as soon as they meet you because there's no learning stage. There's no, I don't know how I feel about this person because I give you everything right off top.
To have two girls, like they're my yin and my yang, and to see my feelings and the way that I am grow up and watch them grow up. I see what my mother dealt with, and I ask for a lot of prayer.
For sure. Oh, there's good breeze right here, I'm just telling you. It's just a great moment. So that's one piece of my authentic self. Thank you, Lawrence, for this fan. So handy.
Wow, that's incredible work, Willie. Did you give Miss Bell a copy of that?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
did before she was. So that was the part I did that. And shout out to my friend who's in the film as well, Ramika Evans, Forrest's sister, who's a classmate of ours. She did this amazing custom glass for her, a tumbler we got made.
Okay. So what inspired you to enter the world of film? I mean, you know, because you started out like I did in stage. What made you go to film?
I was in a movie, actually, you and I talked about it, and you were like, they're auditioning for this role. And it was called Caleb Live a Miracle. And yeah, but I had seen what she did, and one day it just clicked. And so she had a Nikon. She used a Nikon camera. No, a Canon. I think it was a Canon. She used the Canon, and she was filming on this camcorder. And I was like, oh, I get it. These films I'm seeing in movie theaters and everything else, then we went to the film premiere. I'm like, these are just different budget, big budget independent films or small budget independent films, all that. They're just films that people put out and up there. And I said, well, if she can do this, then I can. But also you influenced me too, because I watched how you started to tap slowly into film. And I already wanted to do some of that. But again, sometimes you need to see people close to you and how they're navigating it. And then I said, I think I can do some of this. So then after that, we did Paradise. But I started watching and I'm like, I think I need to start telling more stories.
You were in that film Confessions by Ronnie Adams with Mia Jones too, right? Yeah, that was another film that you were in.
And seeing that, and seeing the DVD behind that, that inspired me too.
So what was the biggest challenge, do you think, in making the documentary of Glenville, the Glenville film?
Not knowing what to expect, because when I started doing this, we do it on the weekends, me and Ms. Regina, and people were not showing up yet. My classmates weren't catching on to it yet. And shout out to AJ. AJ got on social media, I never forgot it. And she was like, y'all need to show up and be here for this. And then it was just a ripple effect of other folks starting to trickle in as the deadlines came, because I learned when you put a deadline on something, people will show up. So I also told myself, let me get out my way and let the story tell itself, because I knew the purpose was, about Fred, but then also Lamont Bentley and a few other folks that have passed on. That was the root of what I wanted to stay authentic to make sure that they weren't lost in it as well. So I said to myself, if I only got 2 people I'm interviewing in here, we're gonna make the best documentary out of it. And it's been a blessing to see it grow from where it started, where nobody was coming, and just staying consistent and dedicated. And another part for me was in the middle of shooting that film, that documentary in particular, my brother had died. And it suddenly happened in the middle of it, and I needed to take a step back, and then we were able to go back in the film.
So what do you think are some of the most important qualities to be a successful filmmaker, would you say?
Never stop learning. For me, being a successful filmmaker, the quality for sure, you never stop learning. Trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you're going to get better and better each film you make. And I've seen that for myself. Be open to constructive feedback from your team, but also from those that are acting with you or whatever project you're working on. And don't be afraid to go get some technical help too, because even though you may go, hey, I want to do a filmmaking, I want to do this, learning some of the technicalities behind things like the widescreen shots, or why you need this kind of camera or this kind of lens, or filming in this area makes this easier versus this. And learning about elements, because that's something I really had to learn, especially with the documentary. Like filming outside and it's windy out there, the proper mics and having yourself mic'd up where you need it to be. Those things are important.
So what can we expect from Willie J. Starrah in the future? Tell me.
Willie J. Starrah is getting busier and steadily, and I'm grateful for that. That's a blessing. You can expect more production of fashion shows, definitely more films. I have a new film coming out this fall, and I'm definitely excited. Go to humblyfulfilledproductions.com to keep up with that.
What's the title of that film and what's it about?
The film is Should've Loved Me When I Was Broken. And so this is about where we pour so much into other people that sometimes we need somebody to help charge us back up too, because you can't feel what you can't give.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today, Willie J. Starrah.
Thanks, Dad, for having me.
And my pleasure. I want to thank my special guest, Willie J. Starrah, for hanging out with me today on Creative Focus. So that's it, Cleveland. We're out. But remember, a true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Hubert Calhoun III for TV 20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time. Be well, be safe.